Hi, I'm Michael Manning from American Auto Wire, and today I want to bring you another one of our tech tips. This is specifically concerning the ignition switch that we put in our 64 to 69 Mustang kits, 66 to 77 Bronco kit, and the 61 to 66 Ford truck. There are two switches that we deal with. They're identical with one exception, and that's the thread size of the nut here on the edge of the switch. This nut holds on the connector body, and it also is the connection point for the accessory lead wire. So I'm going to show you how this goes together, but the first thing I want to show you is what the problem is. If you notice right here at the base of the switch, this threaded shaft goes into the switch, and there's a little landing on this switch right here. Over tightening, and some people have a tendency to over tighten this nut that holds the connector in, that can pull this pressed in stud out of the ignition switch, and then it'll ruin the conductivity on the accessory terminal. So we want to be very careful that we don't over tighten it. So I'm going to show you a couple of tips on how to do that so you don't over tighten it, and another way to retain the accessory wire so we don't have any problems. So I'll use this one here. The difference in this switch, and this is for the Bronco kit and the Ford truck, this uses a 1032 nut. The difference in the earlier one, it uses a 1024 nut. So you just need to know the difference in thread size when we're talking about a retention nut. So here's the way this works. There's a special connector that comes with the ignition switch. Now if you look at the switch itself, you'll see that there's a landing right here, and the switch itself has a hole in the base, and there's a landing underneath that, and it's a solid piece for about, maybe 1/8 of an inch inside this connector. When you plug, and there are no wires in this connector right now because it's easier to show you how this goes together. When you plug this into the switch, the shaft goes through the center of the hole, and the connector will plug in. Now that's a solid landing right here on the edge of this nut. When you're going to put your terminal and nut on it, it's going to force down on that. So just understand that because of the outside perimeter of the plastic and the amount of material inside, it does form a solid landing. Now the switch itself has a cover. The cover has these little raised ridges. They are actually anti-rotational ridges. So what you're going to do is this piece itself will go, and if you look here, there are little slots in the side of the connector, and they match these little tabs that are on the backing. So they're going to slip in like this. Now you're going to put your accessory. Now your accessory wire is usually brown wire. It'll have this terminal on, this ring terminal on the end, and when you put that in, that ring terminal hits these ridges right here, and that forms your anti-rotational. If you notice, if you push this down, you're only going to be able to move that a little bit. And you need to have that because you don't want, as you're tightening, you don't want the wire flipping all the way around like this. So once you hold that in there like this, hold it on, and you're going to put your nut over top of it and screw that down. Hand tighten it. Now you can see that the wire won't rotate. What we have is, a lot of guys have a tendency right now is to take a nice little 1/4 inch drive, and they'll put this is a 5/16 driver on it, and they'll just crank down on this. You can get way too much torque, even on a hand tool like this, a ratchet like this, and that has enough torque to pull that stud out. Don't use a ratchet. What I recommend you use is a nut driver. With the nut driver, you can only get so much torque on this thing before you're really going to be in trouble. So here's the easiest way to adjust the tightness on it. Hand tighten that, and then like on my driver right now, I've picked a point. Like right here on my driver, there's a label. This happens to be an SK tool. I picked the label. It's white indent in the handle. I'm going to turn that half a turn, 180 degrees. That's enough. That is enough tension on that nut to hold that in. It will not move. Now, as a safety, what we recommend you do is take another, in this case, don't forget we're dealing with the ignition switch that has a 1032 nut. We've taken another nut, and you can put that right on the back of that, and that forms a lock nut. Now you can do that with a nut by itself, or in the case of the one we have over here, which is the 1032, we also have a lock nut that has a nylon insert. Same situation, because once you tighten down on this, the nylon is the same as a lock washer. Really, it holds it in place. You can do that again with either another nut or with a nylock insert, or even an offset insert nut that has it's kind of an oblong hole. It's a little tight to pull to tighten down, but it tightens itself on the way. Once you do that, you can take a little hand tool or your 5/16 combo, or you can hit it with a little turn on your ratchet here, on your tool here, and that's plenty. Don't touch it. If you over tighten this thing, you're going to ruin the switch. We haven't had it happen a lot, but it is an issue. We want to make sure that you don't over tighten it, because it'll affect the contacts inside the switch, and then it can ruin the switch, and it's not going to make you have a good day.